Hi everybody. So for those of you who do physiotherapy scoliosis exercises, um, most typically called Schroth exercises, you need bean bags. And today we are going to make bean bags, and this is some that I have made in the past. You need long rectangular ones and you need wedges. So this is a little wedge. This is like a ginormous wedge for like a really good push. It could be like a lumbar pad, or it could be a thoracic, or like a really good push on a thoracic. I also have this little, this is more like a vinyl that I made. It came out really nice. So today we are gonna make it on cotton, and we are gonna make it on this is called a broadcloth. So I'm gonna use this little bicycle. I have used it before, but I'm gonna use it for this pattern. I think it's gonna be really fun. So join me on this video if you do need Schroth bean bags. Typically you can buy them. There's places that sells them, but today I want to show you how to make it yourself, because some of my students are not able to buy them, and I want to make sure that they can have available the resource of how do I make my own bean bags. Some people make them with socks and put rice inside, and that's the way to do it. But if you want to have something a little more permanent, this is the sewing class that you want to do, so you can be able to make your own bean bags. Okay, so join me on this video. It will be super fun. Okay, so we are going to use this fabric, and I just have laid it here. The first thing I want to do is I want to cut it. I have different shapes that I have to make. I have to make a long and skinny one, rectangular, see, and I have to make a triangular one. The triangular one can be a little tricky to make, so we are going to cut two different ones. I do want to have a minimum of one triangular and one rectangular and two triangulars. Okay, maybe not as big as this one. This one in particular, I'm making it for somebody really skinny, so I am gonna not make it too big, but this student does like her bean bag to push really hard, so I want to make sure that it has a really good feeling inside. So you are going to need the fabric. I am also going to use poly pellets instead of rice, and I'm going to show you what that is. So these are poly pellets. These ones in particular are called just plastic pellets, and I can show you. I got these ones on Hobby Lobby, and you can get them online on Amazon as poly pellets or doll pellets, plastic pellets. Typically they're used to weigh down a doll. The reason I'm not using rice is because the rice do get moldy eventually, and if I'm making a more permanent bean bag, I want to make sure that I use poly pellets. Some people use millet, but at the same time that can get a little something inside, so I don't want that. I want to avoid that, so I'm going to use the plastic pellet, which will last basically forever. Okay, I am also going to use a little bit of foam to create a filler inside, so it's not so hard on the feel and it feels more comfortable for the student. So this is like a very soft. I do get this also in Hobby Lobby. I like the way it feels, so you can buy them online or any other store that you prefer. It just happens to be the store next to my house. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do, make sure you have a good pair of scissors next to you, and I am gonna cut my rectangular piece. And the size of the rectangular piece, this actually, it's a really good one, really good size. I did have a ruler in my neck and I can't see it now. Let me just grab this one. So I want to have a length. So this one is about 9 inches in length, but of course I folded the end in. So you want to have at least 10.5 inches so you can be able to kind of sew and fold in. So I'm going to have, you're going to have either 10 or 10.5 in length, and you want to have, this is about 3.5 inches, so you want to have 4 so you can count for seam allowance. So I'm going to have 4 on the width, and I'm going to say 10 on the length. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get my pencil. And where's my pencil? I'm gonna go ahead and get my pencil, and we said that we want to have 10 as in length and a 4 as in width. Okay, so grab your ruler. And that is one side, so I'm gonna double that up as 8. And because it is one side only, so I'm gonna double it so I can fold it. So I'm gonna bring it all the way to 8, and then I close that. Okay, so go ahead and cut your piece. If you're afraid that your fabric is gonna fray a little bit, you can always put 2 layers of fabric. And with that being said, I am gonna use a cotton for the inside. So let's use this cotton that I have here. So I can have 2 layers and it's not gonna break on my student, okay? So I have 2 layers. It's almost like a lining, like an undershirt. Okay. Okay. So with that being said, make sure the one that you want to have outside is there. I'm gonna have the green in, put it on top, and I am gonna go ahead and fold it over and put some pins on the piece. So this should be really quick, so you can have your pieces ready to go as soon as you're ready. As soon as you're done. So super duper easy. Okay. One thing I do like to do here is that I am gonna fold the top. Just like that. So that way when I close it, it has a really nice closure, okay? There you go. So this one is basically ready to go. And this is my long piece. You could ideally make 3 of this because you can have 2 of them for your elbows and 1 for the upper thoracic neck area. So that would be really nice. If you have 3 and then 2 of the triangular, okay? So that would be nice. So we're gonna hold it on the side because we're gonna sew them all together, but I just wanna prepare them. Okay. So I am gonna go ahead and cut 2 more so I can actually make 3 of those very quickly since I am at this. So let's go ahead and mark 8. And this should be really quick, just like I did the other one. You're ready to go. Okay, so I cut that, and then last one, I'm gonna cut it from right here. I think this line is not straight. okay? When it comes to this piece, I'm pretty much looking more for the shape, and I'm gonna go ahead and do another layer of this one. So I'll put it on top. And again, I'll take the color under. I do want the green up. I don't think anybody's gonna see this because it's gonna be inside, but still I want it to look up, you know. And then we're gonna pinch it in. So I'm gonna fold it in. There we go. And this side, remember, we're folding in so we can have a nice edge. Okay, and that is 2, and I need one more, which I have it right here. That one is finished, so I am gonna grab a different fabric here. These are fat quarters, and they're perfect. I use them for so many things, and this is one of them. So I can double line this. I still want it to be soft. I don't want it to be hard. I want to make sure this becomes something that is comfortable. Okay. And again, I turn it over and over and turn it in. Okay, and just like that, we have 3 long bean bags, and I'll show you once we sew it. We're gonna fill them in and they'll be adorable. Okay, so I'm gonna move this to the side because now we have to make the triangular one. Okay, for the triangular, we are gonna draw it first so that way we are sure of what we want. The center of the diagonal, that would be the bottom of it, I want to have, so I want it to be 2 inches in width, but of course we are going to be lifting from it. So I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to put 4 inches up, okay? And I'm going to make a straight line first. And from that straight line, I'm gonna go ahead and give, I'm gonna say like a 5-10 degrees over, and then I'm gonna make an extra line. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can see what I'm drawing, so I'm gonna do it here. I'm gonna put this marker. So basically I did 2 inches in width, and then I went ahead and put a straight line so I can make my pattern. And then I'm gonna make just about, I was gonna call it, that's like a 3-4 degrees over, and then I pattern like that. I wanna determine the width of my pattern. And typically I wanna have the width of between the axilla. So if you measure the child that you are doing it for, you wanna say, this is the axilla, okay, or the armpit area, and then you are gonna go down to the end of the bra area, okay? Because that's exactly where you're gonna go. That's gonna be typically about 4 inches, okay? If somebody has a longer torso, it may come down to 5, but most typically is 4, I'm gonna say 4.5 just in case. That's a really big torso. So to explain to you what I am looking at, so if I take the measuring tape, I'm gonna measure from the axilla, so I'm gonna hold it there. I'm very hypermobile, so I can do that, all the way to the end of my breast. Because I am an adult, I'm 6.5, so that is the length of my torso. But if I have a teenager, maybe that's a 5, okay? Because it's a smaller torso. If you have a tall teenager, you may be a 6. So if you measure it, you may be better off, because that's where the beanbag is gonna go. So let's see. So 5.5, let me go down. So we did 5.5. And when I see it here, let's go to 5.5, just in case this child is bigger than I expect. And then again, I'm gonna come up, and 4 is enough. And then I'm gonna tilt it a little bit, and I wanna create a similar level of tilt. Let's see, there you go. Okay, looks like I went a little bit farther up. It's okay if you go a little bit farther up. So I have 4 3/4. Let me go ahead and close it here. So this is the beanbag, okay? The beanbag cannot be too wide on the width. This one is humongous, but it's because I'm using it for the head. This is too wide, and when I look at the width of this is 2, almost 3 inches in width. So you want to have at least 2, so it's not so big. So I have 2 inches, and I have 2 inches, and I'm gonna go ahead and, because I'm making a pattern, I'm gonna just throw that line. Again, I'm gonna go ahead and just throw a random line up, and this is just my guideline, okay? And I am gonna, oh, you see what I did there? That's incorrect. I didn't come from the bottom. So I need to come from the bottom. That's why it was not matching, okay? I'm sure one of you noticed that. There you go, I fixed it. Now it's perfect, okay? So now I'm gonna measure it, and that's about 5 inches. So just about 5 inches. So I'm gonna take this. There we go. And close. Okay. And that is the inside. Now I need to have layers to the side, so I'm gonna go ahead and say 5 as well, and 5 as well. I don't have enough to this side. So when I measure it, I'll have to cut it because I don't have, I could actually. So basically I need to have my 5 inches to this side and I'm missing it. And you can see the pattern there. Okay, perfect. And now I can do my 5 inches to the other side. Where's my pen here? So I threw that line in between just so I can be able to do my 5 inches. There we go. There we go. Okay. So let's go ahead and cut it. Let me move this. And see how it works. Oopsie doopsie. Okay. So technically when I fold, okay, I'm gonna move this paper. So when I fold this, I am gonna raise this up and sew in this direction, and then I sew this one with this one, this one with this one, this one with this one, okay? And then you turn it over. Okay, so it's really good. One thing that I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna give a little bit of more room here, but let's go ahead and put the fabric and see how it goes, okay? Where's the scissors? Okay. So I am giving a little room on the side. I'm actually gonna do a square on the top here because I think it's gonna help me sew better. Okay. So if I put this one to this one, yep, it's gonna be perfect. Okay, it's gonna sew perfect. Yes. And again, I do want to make it double, so let me just go ahead and do 2 of those. I'm gonna make it double with a different fabric. That's not gonna work. Let me get another fabric. Again, we're not looking for perfection on this. We're looking for a triangle. Okay, that looks great. So when I turn it over, it's gonna look like that. I love it. Okay, so that's one. That's one. And I'm not gonna do the top. Although the top, after I close these pieces, I'm gonna fold it and maybe do a top stitch. I could fold it now, make it on it. No, I can't fold it now. No, it's okay. Not with this shape. So I do want to do one more of this same shape. Okay. So I'm gonna take that piece back and go ahead and cut one more. So bring your little bikes over. And again, you're gonna put it on fold. Okay. And let me move this over and out of this one. So let me move this fabric. And we are gonna do an inside for this one. So the last one, I cut the main piece, and let's go ahead. I have this other piece here, and again I'm gonna fold it in half. This is a really good size. So to review, one of the things that I did different was that I squared the top rather than make it pointy. It is gonna sew better. So I made that change. Okay. And I am double lining. And I fold it in half just to make sure that is even. Okay. I'm gonna open it. I'm gonna put the inside. It goes the other way, this way, okay. So just match it, there you go. And then I'm gonna go ahead and turn it. And go ahead and close the corners together. So here I need to bring it up a little bit more. There we go. And the other side. And if it doesn't look even, remember that you're gonna cut the excess at the end, so you are gonna be okay. It's gonna look really nice at the end. Okay, that looks perfect. So we have a total of 2 triangulars and 3 long ones. And we are gonna go ahead and go to the machine and sew them now. So I'm gonna do a little snip. I just make sure that I don't cut that corner. And that's it, that should be good. And I'm gonna also do it on the top here. There you go. And then I'm gonna turn it over. And this one, because it's a little long, go ahead and get a stick. And so you can like really push those corners. And I love that we made it double to make it a little bit sturdier, okay? That looks good. And the way we sew this, it's just gonna make it really easy to close because we sewed it in a fold. So it helps us with folded. So we're gonna fill it up and we'll have the perfect position. Okay, and then we'll just have to close the top. Okay, that looks great. So let's go ahead and finish the other ones really quick. And here is a little open. So let me go back and close that because I don't like how it looks. So I'm just gonna go back and close it a little bit more because it is not fully closed. Okay. Let me check it, and now it did close. Okay. Okay. Okay, and the last one. And I literally, my bobbing just finished. Okay, and to finish this part, remember I did a little turn over, just a small. Okie dokie. Very nice. So now I'm gonna turn it. Okay. And now we just have to fill them up, okay? So let's get the filling. So I just have this much of my poly beads, and I do want to fill 4 or 5 little bags. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna put some of the foam, the inside, okay? So I'm gonna put some of this at the bottom to start off. And then I'm gonna create kind of like a bird's nest in the middle. I'm gonna take a little cup and let's just go ahead and dump a little bit in the center. And then I'm just gonna move it around. And let's go ahead and get a little bit more. Okay. And I am gonna pack that bean bag really good. Oh no, there was an opening there. I can close that by hand. Maybe I put a little bit more. And every time I work with this, I find it everywhere in my room, which is crazy. Ah, that's why. Okay. I do want to make sure it puts enough pressure on the back. So I want to fill it up good. I think that's good. Because when you lay on it, it's gonna have a nice push. So I'm gonna go ahead and secure it. And you could secure it by hand or you could do it by the machine, but the machine will be a lot faster. And one last thing that I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna put a little tag on it. Okay. And let me cut the size of my tag. And then I'm gonna sew across. Now I did notice that this side open a little bit. I am gonna show you how I'm gonna close it by hand, because I already kind of closed the inside and I had stuff everything and I noticed it. So I will close it by hand. So I'll show you that when I finish. So let me go on the machine and sew this one. Oh, it didn't take it. Great. Okay, I'm gonna do it one more time. well, it's not taking it for some reason. It's the bobbin. So I'm just gonna go ahead and change the bobbin because somehow it's not working right, but it's okay. It's all sealed, so we're good. But I'm gonna change the bobbin. And my tacky didn't take it, so we're gonna put it there. I could put it in a different way, but this is pretty good. And I'll show you how to close that. Little piece. Okay, give me a minute. So I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna close that. So I went ahead and got a little bit of a heavy duty thread. And I got a needle. It happened that my needle that I had is super big. It's a dull needle, so I'm gonna use it because it's the one that I have available. I don't know why I cut this tiny little piece. What was I thinking? Let me get a different needle. A more normal one. How about that? Okay. And I am gonna do a ladder stitch to be able to fix that. So I'm gonna go from the bottom and go up, and then I'm gonna go on the side, almost like going up the ladder. Pretty decent. Okay, so technically this is done. Just a little bit more so you can move it around. And I am pushing it so it can be nice and firm, so it can have some good pressure. Okay, you don't want to have it too soft. Okay, one more. Perfect. If I had a puppy, this would be like an amazing present. Right? There we go. That's good. Okay, so I just finished the long one. Basically, I just sew across and I did a double. I sewed it twice. So we have two. We have the wedge one and we have the one. I could have done the wedge a little bit longer as I am looking at it, but I think it's okay. It's gonna be, just have to make sure your kid kind of pushes the beanbag really far in so they can have some really good push with it. Okay, with that being said, it's a nice, they both of them have a nice, they're gonna balance nicely. So go ahead and finish the rest and then we'll see it at the end. But overall, this is a really nice beanbag that you can use for your Schroth therapy, and then you want to duplicate it as many times as you need. Even though it's soft, it's actually comfortable, so it's gonna give you a nice push. If you want to make it a little harder, you can make it all based on poly beads, or you can just kind of add a little foam to it to make it a little more comfortable, and then you can use it in a daily basis. It still has a little beads inside, so it gives it a little feel, but it has enough squish to kind of put some pressure. Okay, have fun making the rest ones.